who's in driver's ed right now. He's been driving.
Been listening to us?
Is he listening to us? No. But I asked him how the driving went. Today was his first day on the highway. So we talked about that, texted back and forth. And then he said, I'm sorry to say this, but I think I'm going to be a better driver than Mom.
Well, you can judge this. How is the wife at driving?
He thinks he's going to be a better driver than her.
I asked you, how is the wife at driving?
College football starts on Thursday.
Oh, boy. How much have you driven with the boy?
I've had him drive around the neighborhood a little bit. I get scared. I get nervous. I totally get now that dad thing. Like when your parents, when you're learning how to drive, you're like, oh, my God, they're so annoying. Yep. I'm so annoying. Slow down, slow down, slow down, slow down, slow down. Because I don't have that brake that the driver's ed teacher does.
Yeah.
I want that brake. My
dad scared the living hell out of me one time when I was driving with him. It was awesome when he says, all right, let's go. I'm like, what do you mean, let's go? We're going to go out to the high school. We're going to drive around. And you're going to start teaching how to drive. I'm like, oh, okay. So we went up to West Bloomfield High School and drove around there a little bit. And he let me drive the car back, which wasn't that far. It was like a mile. So we're driving back. We come into the subdivision, and we're coming down this road. And he reaches across to grab the steering wheel, steer it away from the side that he was on, and yells, "My Lord!" And I was like, what? What did I do? What? Didn't you see the car over there? I'm like, yeah, it's right there. I'm not hitting that. I'm next to I'm driving down the road, and the car's right there. There's a parked car on the side of the street. My Lord! My heart jumped out of my chest. I'm like, whoa, slow down. I don't think I was that close to his. You were going to hit it. There was no way I was going to hit it. But he made the correction and put the fear of God into me. And, I was never really comfortable driving with him for a long time after that.
I feel like I need to do that.
Shake it up.
My Lord.
I mean, you gotta yell it. One of the few times in my life that I've heard my old man yell.
I love it. Okay, we promised some college football stuff at this time, so let's follow through on that before we get back to your phone calls, and we will momentarily with that. 248-539-9797. We got a ton of Martin feedback because both Martins, one hates the contract, one loves it. Go figure. But with college football starting this weekend for Michigan and Michigan State, Gator, what young player are you most excited to see? One of the great things about college football is the fun and the anticipation of roster turnover, which also is a huge challenge. But what young player are you most excited to see play for Wolverines and Spartans? And let's start with the Spartans. Who are you most excited to see play?
With the Michigan State Spartans, I'm looking forward to seeing Josiah Scott, the defensive back from Ohio. He's a true freshman who they have penciled in right now to start at one of the cornerback spots. So I'm excited about that. To think that there's a guy coming in as a true freshman who's an early enrollee that has that much talent that can surpass what's already on the roster, I like that. And knowing that, Harlan Barnett, who's coached up the secondary for a long time here under Mark D'Antonio, knowing the guys that they've had in the past, in Darquez Denard, Trey Waynes, and guys like that, and he's spoken pretty glowingly about this kid. So I'm excited to see what he is and what he can become.
I've talked about a very nondescript, very innocent 4-yard pass from Lewerke to Tristan Jackson in the Michigan State game last year that I thought was a ball that was ticketed to sail out of bounds. It had a lot of steam on it, and Jackson just got it with his fingertips, and I think him playing a bigger role in the offense is something Spartan fans should be excited about. I think he has that. It's probably a bit of an overreaction to one play, but it's one play I saw with my own eyes. It was one where the ball was thrown right to me, and based upon where Jackson was, he had no business catching it with his fingertips, and he did. So I'm going with Tristan Jackson. And a host of young receivers looking to prove themselves for Michigan State, whether it be him or Cody White or Chambers or whomever. Meanwhile, Gator, in Ann Arbor, what young Wolverine you think Michigan fans should be most excited to see play?
Well, I think people like playmakers. They want to see the offensive side of things, and I think Donovan Peoples-Jones, the wide receiver, coming in with a lot of fanfare, had a bunch of offers, was from Cass Tech, chose Michigan over Michigan State and Alabama and Florida State and Clemson. So he's got the pedigree heading into his college career, and you see that from a receiver. And knowing what Michigan has graduated in the last couple of years, he's going to have an opportunity to be a playmaker, and that's what I think they should be excited and ready to watch.
As I get ready for this Florida game, and I know all the talk out of Florida offensively is, even though they lost Antonio Callaway to suspension, is how much speed they're bringing to the table, whether it be Tyree Cleveland or Kadarius Toney or Dre Massey. I think Devin Bush in the middle of the defense, the fast linebacker, is going to be critical to their success. And I think Michigan fans should get excited about seeing him play. And I think they got to counter that speed. And that's what Bush is allegedly bringing to the table, is more speed. And I remember last year there were times where Michigan had problems keeping up, specifically running backs out of the backfield. Dre Massey might line up in the Wildcat, so Massey or Toney. Well, one of them may wild up with the Wildcat, so I think that middle linebacker spot's going to be critical.
What have you heard about Peoples-Jones?
Frisbee catching dog. He's a Frisbee catching dog. He can go get anything. Him and Tariq Black. But I've heard Donovan Peoples-Jones. Tariq Black looked great in the spring game, and they say that's continued. I think he's going to start. But Donovan Peoples-Jones, I've heard that he just catches everything in the vicinity.
It sounds like he's coming in with, at the very least, as much fanfare this year as a freshman that Donnie Corley did last year as a freshman with Michigan State.
Maybe.
Very talented.
Yep. 248-539-9797. Who is the young player you're most excited to see play? We've introduced that as well. Back to your phone calls. Chris is in Commerson next. Hi, Chris.
Hey, Chris.
Chris. Christopher? No good. Let's try Kendall in Detroit. You're next here on 97.1 The Ticket. Hi, Kendall.
Good morning, guys. How are you?
Good.
All right.
You know, we've talked a lot about Matt Stafford over the years, and, I'll just try to make it real simple. I think even his biggest defenders will acknowledge that Matt Stafford is not the kind of special quarterback that can, on his own, elevate the play of admittedly a flawed team. A team that has a lot of holes, has a lot of depth issues, that they need people around him for him to be successful. And I think that that's fair. As a big critic of his, I think that that's fair, that he's been a lot of times in a situation that's been very hard to overcome. But what really hurts me is that flawed team, that team with a lot of holes, with a lot of depth issues, has made the decision to make him the highest paid player in NFL history. It just seems to be the kind of decision that this kind of organization that would make, that, yes, he's not a horrible quarterback. Maybe some would put him in the top 10, maybe. I don't.
Almost everybody.
But the question is, why do they, number one? And number two, does that mean that this team, this organization, with all of its issues, its prospects for winning, with all of the catching up it needs to do, was the number one thing to put on the agenda, making Matt Stafford the highest paid player in NFL history?
Oh, God, no. I mean, but it's the price of doing business. The number one thing they need to do is build a team around him, specifically in the trenches. Look, they need to build a winner, and it's either with Matthew Stafford or without Matthew Stafford. And the GM, who I think his early work has been very good and all part of a plan, you can kind of see it, has opted to say, I can build a winner with this guy's skill set and the cap number we're going to have with him.
Yeah, I again, the clock on Quinn is now ticking for me. I was very excited about him and this whole New England thing, coming to the Detroit Lions, taking diamonds in the rough and making the most out of them. To say that he just, that his crowning achievement now is making the kind of decision that the New England Patriots just would have never made. They never would have made this choice. A quarterback that is proven over 8 years, he's not winning versus the best teams in the biggest games. He just hasn't done it.
Well, the Lions
all,
haven't. And this is, if you're going to go all on Stafford, Kendall, I get you. But is it an individual game or is it a team game? And have the Lions not been historically flawed under Matt Millen, Martin Mayhew? I mean, have they not been very, very flawed through the majority of his career?
Of course they have, and that's the point. That also during that 8-year period of time that he has shown that he has been unable to make that difference. That doesn't mean that he's horrible. That just means that he has been unable to break through. So why do they decide to bring in that guy?
What are the
who's
options?
Already shown us.
What are the
that
options?
He can't. Well, the option is to trust Quinn to say, well, look, we're going to go ahead and rebuild this thing from the ground up. But instead, we're now saddled up to a guy that over 8 years, love him or hate him, has just shown you that he struggles with teams that have holes that aren't perfect, where he doesn't have the best blocking or he doesn't have the best running game, which are all fair things. And those are going to remain issues moving forward when you have this big, huge chunk of your cap going to this player.
I guess you could also trust Quinn to build the team around him.
That is true, but I'm convinced. I think that this is I think this is a Martha Ford thing. Stafford is apparently a very good person, husband, father. We know all that about him.
Candle, thank you.